The confusing part of all this is that science is often seen as this, and it is, this technologically advanced, field, this broad discipline that is pushing innovation to the limit, always, constantly. And they're using $100,000 instruments in their laboratories. And they'll come with computers, they'll sit beside them, and it'll pump out data. But the reality is when I was in class, when I was doing research, I would still stare at that computer screen and I'd write that number on my paper notebook. And I'd go back to my computer and I'd upload it into Excel and I'd send it to an email to my professor. And it was just horrible. They're one of the poorest places on Earth, but they are one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen and experienced, whether it be picture or in person. The people there are incredible, like the culture, unbelievable. The language is not even written down. You have to learn it on the streets. And so I went and worked with an NGO that was there. And in a long story, I self-funded my plane ticket and I got there. And the reason I went there in the first place was because everything that they do is rainwater. So when it comes to water, that's all they got. They don't have piped water coming in. They have a little bit in the capital city, but not much at all. And maybe 98% or so, that's a rough guess, is probably 100% reliant on the rainwater they capture from their roofs. And I was interested in rainwater already, and this place became the most perfect raw data set for studying rainwater. And I was curious particularly how the gutter was important in that. So the material that a gutter is actually made out of, like how does that impact the water? The Comorans can't trust their water once they capture it, because they literally just capture it and then drink it. Leading up to going, I knew that I was working with real people. I knew that I was working with people's drinking water in their homes. And so I wanted to give the best data set possible, right? I wanted to improve it and give real results, conclusive results, be efficient, all these things, because I'm working with real people. And the other thing is that being what Comoros is, there's no Walgreens. So I can't buy batteries if I need any, I can't buy pens. I brought 40 AA batteries with me, 20 Write in the Rain pens, a couple notebooks, And so that's what led me to really rethink this whole write your data on paper thing. I was like, this is just silly. On my committee is professors from University of Cincinnati, professors from Northern Kentucky, including Dr. Conlon, and then I have 2 federal researchers from the EPA, one of which is a rainwater expert who kind of led me on to this whole thing. And when I was proposing my research plan prior, they said, I'm giving out all the stuff, my lit review and everything that's going on, and they asked, well, where's your data sheet? And I said, oh, it's on my iPad. And they were like, what are you talking about? You can't do that. And I was like, no, hold on, just give me a break. I input everything on that thing, like numeric data, audio clips, because when we were walking house to house, I didn't have time to like thumb type stuff in. I would just talk into it notes that I had, and then I'd re-listen to it that evening and then type it back in. Pictures, everything was attached to a sample number, and it just sped up absolutely every nuance of that project. I got so much interest from my methodology on the iPad that I created another presentation just on my methodology. I was like, okay, I'll have this in my back pocket. Well, I gave over a dozen presentations between EPA, UC, and NKU just on the iPad. Nobody cared about Comoros anymore. Not kidding. It was really kind of sad. But they're like, just show me that iPad. Show me what you did and how you did it. Because these are people that have been writing on paper for 30, 40 years, and this is like, this changes everything. And I did not come back with the intent to start a business.
I wasn't really expecting, a business to come out of that, just his research as he came back.
Yeah.
I've been just in software development for 5 or 6 years now, and so Jacob came to me with this idea for just an app, essentially, at that time.
Yeah, it was just an app.
We just want to have an app that scientists can use to collect data in. And we started talking to people. We started just going back to his advisors at the EPA, talking to other grad students here at NKU and at UC, and realized that there's a lot more that can be done in this sector.
Yeah.
Just that there's a lot of problems within the science world that technology, like modern technology, has not been applied to. They have really fantastic scientific equipment, but they don't really have like the method of collecting and storing and sharing and collaborating around that data is still 20 years
Yeah.
old. We have built Liquid around is the idea of collecting the data, which is just having a mobile device you can collect data on, and then a database that all that information is stored back to. As soon as you save it on your mobile device, it gets stored in our cloud database, where you can then analyze your data, and you can collaborate over that data. So you can share the data that you've collected immediately as you've collected it. So as with our solution, if Jacob had been able to use it when he was in Comoros, as soon as he had collected a data set from a cistern from a family, it would have been available to his research advisor here in the United States to say, oh, wow, that's a really interesting piece of data. Maybe you could collect a few more samples on that one just so we can get some more information from it. So you could get real-time advisement on the data that you're collecting instead of having to wait until he got back to say, oh, crap, I probably should have done a little bit more around this area, but you have no insight into what your data looks like until he got back. So what we want to provide is that ability to analyze your data in real time, so you can begin to see trends as they emerge as you're collecting the data, and then just collaborating over that data with other scientists. Be able to say, here's another scientist that collected data in South Africa. What did he find about the water, the wells that he was collecting data on, and how does that relate to my research? And there's nothing out there right now that scientists can use to share their data.